one and only George Benson joins us now. What a pleasure. How lovely to see you. London's a bit like a second home now, isn't it? You've been here a lot.
I love this place. I've seen the growth over the last several decades, and it's just amazing where London came from and where it has grown to what it is today. The modernization of the buildings is incredible. And yet we still have enough room to walk around and enjoy the city. So I did that last time I was here. I was amazed at how much there is to London. I thought I had seen London. I only saw a fraction of it.
Lots to see. And actually, you're playing some pretty iconic locations while you're here. You're at Hampton Court and you're also at the Royal Albert Hall.
Two of my favorite places to play, and I'm anxious to get back to my audience there.
Yeah. And what about Royal Albert Hall for you? What's that been like for you over the years?
In the United States, we only have one place that even comes close, and that's Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the wonderful air that goes along with the hall. When you step in the hall, you can almost feel the people that have been there.
Yeah.
You know, and you know somehow you're in a place that is very, very special. And I look out in the audience and I see faces like the writer of the song "Give Me the Night," Rod Temperton. Last time I played there, he was right in the middle, looking at me, and I said, "Oh, I should fall apart now because I remember the day he presented it to me and I didn't want to do it."
No way.
And he and Quincy Jones got on my back and said, "Yeah, you're going to do this today."
Oh, thank God.
So in the one day, we did that song, and from the moment it came out, boom, it went straight to the top of the charts.
So when it came to sort of getting into music in the first place, I think you were about 7, weren't you? Because you grew up in a house that didn't have electricity, but it was moving into your stepfather's house that changed all that, and he sort of brought the music in.
That's true.
Yeah.
I remember the day I was serenading my girlfriends. I was 7 years old, and I had my ukulele. I was on the steps, the front steps, about 8 or 9 steps there. And I looked up at the clock downtown, which was on the side of a building, and it said, 5 minutes to 7. I said, "Oh, this is my day to sell newspapers." I had just turned 7, so now I was at the right age to sell papers. You had to be at least 7. So I didn't have enough time to take my ukulele back upstairs, so I took it with me to the stand. I got my newspapers, 5 newspapers. I sold 1.
Yeah.
In my whole life, I only sold 1 newspaper. But the guy gave me a 20-cent tip. And for a 7-year-old, 20 cents was big money.
Yeah.
So I turned my papers in, and I went to what we call a drugstore. It was a confectionery kind of store.
Yeah.
And while I was in there looking at the candy counter, a guy steps in back of me and he said, "Hey, kid, can you play that thing?" And I turned around and I said, and the people started going in their pocket and they were clapping. And I only had 2 sets, 2 hands here, so I couldn't collect money. So my cousin came in and he had his baseball hat on. He said, "Whew," and he went around the audience. That's my first professional gig.
I love the
amazing.
fact that you start at 7, you play with your ukulele, you then get into, sort of still very young, into clubs and things. And it was people like Dionne Warwick and Nina Simone who were your earliest fans.
That's right. They were the weather vane I should have used to tell me that something big was getting ready to happen in my life. I was playing at one of the top jazz clubs in New York. It was called the Village Vanguard. And all the superstars used to play there. Miles Davis. I used to open for Thelonious Monk and people like that, and other greats. And Herbie Hancock when he first started his band. And every now and then, they would leave when the stars left, like Thelonious Monk left. And then I would close out the evening. There'd be 2 or 3 people left. There'd be people like Nina Simone and Dionne Warwick.
How amazing.
I said, man, I wonder why they stayed, And years later, I was on their shows. My manager asked me one time, he said, "Why do you want to be on Dionne's show? Her show is starting to wane." I said, "I got to be on that show.
Yeah.
I have to." She was there when I was a nobody. I got to do it. And so it was nice to be able to pay all of that back and to be on the show with her because she's such a fantastic artist.
Yes.
And her career is still going very strong and so forth and so on. So I've had the pleasure of doing all of those crazy things and having a payback. Yeah.
You, I mean, but at that age, like you look at pictures of you, I mean, you were a child in an adult's world, and you know, we've seen lots of people who have done that and then had difficult times.
That's true.
You've always seemed to sort of carry on with your career. The music has always seemed to be the focus somehow.
My fans were my local people, the people I grew up with, and they told me for years, "Little Georgie, you got to get out of here, man. You ain't gonna never be nothing until you leave Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania." I mean, there's no way I can measure what that meant because I only knew one place, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so even people from New York would come through and they saw me as a kid playing ukulele. When I first got to New York, they said, "Yeah, you're that kid we saw in Pittsburgh. You're from Pittsburgh, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "We saw you when you were about 7 years old, or 10 or 8. And I said, "You did?" Billy Eckstein, people like that, you know. And let me tell Art Blakey, the great drummer, and other fabulous musicians. I always wanted to meet Charlie Parker. My father told me, "You learn to play like Charlie Parker, and you'll be sitting on the top of the world." So I started listening to Charlie Parker records.
Yeah.
And sure enough, my playing, the grade of my playing came up. It started getting better, more artistic.
Well, it's more than 70 years since starting playing for Pocket Change, that ukulele. I know that you've countless albums. You've got another album that you're writing now, still at the forefront, still performing, still in the best venues, as we said, Royal Albert Hall, Hampton Court, and they're pretty much sold out, I would have thought, but it's always worth having a look. But this is the tour. These are the tour dates that we're talking about now. The tour starts on Friday at the Bournemouth International Centre. It will be amazing. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Really
Thank you,
lovely.
George.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you.